This is the Balanced Advisor Podcast with Dr. Travis Perry, helping financial advisors like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Advisor Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today, Scott is the founder of Stone Steps Financial, a financial planning and investment management firm located in Encinitas, California, that helps families and professionals align their money with life. He's passionate about pursuing lifelong learning in order to best serve his clients and holds the Chartered Financial Analyst and the Certified Financial Planner, CFP, and Registered Life Planner designations. When he's not helping clients step into the visions of great life, you'll find Scott co-hosting Real Personal Finance, where he and another financial advisor break down listeners' personal finance questions into easily digestible answers, training advisors the Evoke process at the Kinder Institute of Life Planning, surfing, or hanging out in Cardiff, where he lives with his wife and two boys. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Thank you for having me.
So we didn't talk about this in the pre-show, but yeah, you're a surfer boy as well. Sounds like you have a lot of fun down there.
I am. I'm actually in need of getting back in the water. It's been out of the water with the time change and was sick, but I'm really excited to start getting back.
Nice. Now, this will depend. Like if we can continue on the podcast today, are you a shortboarder or are you a longboarder?
Oh, I actually love mid-lengths. So because I'm 40. But
what is mid-length for you? Mid-length for me might be a longboard for me. I don't know.
Oh, it's like 7.2.
Okay.
Something
yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. So kind of like the gun range, right?
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I kind of grew up in that. I had a 7'6" board, and then I had a 10'6", just depending on the size of the waves of the day when we went out to Malibu's to do some surfing. So too fun. Awesome. Well, besides surfing, we're going to talk a little bit about how you got into this industry. Maybe surfing's part of that story. I don't know, but tell us, man, how did you get started this direction?
Yeah. I got started this direction. I was a undergrad in corporate finance at University of Colorado. And, there was when it was time to go get jobs, right? Senior year was around, a recruiter came through from Fisher Investments. And, I found my way to a sales role at Fisher Investments right out of school. And I didn't even know what a registered investment advisor was. I just happened to go work for the largest one right out of the gate. And so went there, worked there for a couple of years up in San Francisco at the time. And then realized that I wanted to have more. I wanted to be involved in the client's decision-making process. I was in this, inside sales role essentially there. And so I had an opportunity to come down to San Diego, and we was able to go work at a firm here where we kind of worked with the working wealthy, the millionaire next door. And we did financial, investment management with some financial planning for sure. And then we stayed there for about 7-8 years and got my CFP and my CFA while I was there, and then realized I wanted to do my own thing. And to do my own thing, I wanted to, I basically wanted to help my generation plus 10 years. So I'm 42. So most of our clients are like in the 10 years plus or minus my age demo. And we have some of their parents as well now, and started the firm 7 years ago. It's had some iterations along the way. Where we are today is we are what I would say a financial life planning firm. We take the time to really focus. Our view is clients have 4 things they can invest in their life. They have time, money, energy, and talent. And of course, money is very important and vital to the work we do, but it's just a tool for them to live a great life. And so the lens that we look through with our clients is, let's understand what you want life to look like, what you want to build towards, and then let's go look at the best choices that you can make once we have the lens to look through of what a great life looks like to you. So that the values and the vision drive the financial choices that we make for our clients versus simply looking at the textbook answer. I'm not a fan of putting the ladder against the wrong wall and having people climb, because that's just what the textbook says, right? So instead we take the time to really get to know clients, really understand what matters most to them, and then we will go look at the solutions for them and help them make progress.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, life planning is, I believe, what financial planning should be. So
Yeah.
And I think, we both agree on that. And, I have a lot of financial advisors, financial planners, probably don't realize that's what they are doing when they do financial planning well. So I applaud your efforts, and Kinder and others out there who are doing very similar things. I know you're involved a lot in that process at the Kinder Institute. So it's pretty amazing. Let's talk about balance, because you've got a family. You try to hang out in the waves a little bit. You run your business. You're involved at the Kinder Institute. Like you have your hands in a few things right now. Talk to me. What is your definition of balance?
The definition of balance that I have had for myself for this year was 6 weeks out of the office planned, while growing our firm at a decent pace, like 1 to 2 clients a month, while creating the space for our team to flourish. Of course, while we continue to serve our clients with the best care that we can provide. That's my definition of balance now. And it's a challenge.
Yeah. What would you say like the biggest issue is with trying to get that, 6 weeks out of the office, trying to grow the firm? What are your biggest issues that way?
Well, we're coming out of a period where we're implementing surge meetings for clients. So spring meetings and fall meetings. And we just went through the process of doing them. And while we were doing them, I put too many other things on my plate. We were doing 2 weeks on, 1 week off and the team would be there. And then I was, with COVID, coming out of COVID, we built in a lot of travel in the spring to go see family who we hadn't seen for years and go reconnect with friends. And, the local, the guys I surf with, we did a boys trip to Tahoe, and it's like all these things, spring break happened. And it was just, it was too much all at once. So it was a good lesson learned. I was overly ambitious in the spring.
Yeah, I get it. So fall, what's fall going to look like because of the spring?
Fall is going to have much more of a focus on simply meeting and being in meetings, and not traveling like I was planning to travel in the spring. So it added some clarity. Don't try to do too much at any one time,
right?
And that it's okay to not try to do everything all at once.
This is truth. When we talk about trying to do it all, like it's impossible. You can't do it all. But I think we get excited. We want to do things like being away from friends and family for a long time, and then being able to make that travel happen. It's exciting. It's adventurous. And if that's how you like to do life, it's hard to calm that down a little bit while you're trying to grow the business. I know you're trying to scale it. I know as you're trying to build the business, what do you think some of the biggest issues that you come up against consistently with scaling while trying to keep a good sense of balance?
Yeah. I think that, for me, when you say scaling, I don't know that I want to scale and be some giant firm, but I'd love for us to have one. I like Angie Herber's format of the diamond team. So I'd like to build out one diamond team. Right. And we already have the people in place to do it now. So now the next thing is, as we grow and scale businesses, as most of us do as small business owners, we go get the business, and now we need to institutionalize the processes, if that makes sense, right? Like make them more robust as far as like making sure everyone knows how to check all the boxes. That's something that we certainly need to work on. And then training the staff to feel really competent in all realms of the work that we do. Just because you have a CFP credential doesn't mean, there's again, the textbook answer of planning. And then there's the actual cases of planning. So creating the space for them to learn and grow is something else that is needed. When I envision doing this, I kind of envision doing this in an office with other people. And we, with COVID, went virtual, which is great, but there are some extra challenges of being virtual. So there's yet another challenge to a challenge and an opportunity, right? Because it gives people freedom. They don't have to be driving in and out of the office any longer, but we need to make sure we're staying checked in with one another, and everyone understands whose role's what, and everything's being handled correctly. So it kind of lends itself back to the processes and the systems really working well.
Yeah, this is exactly what so many advisors are talking to me about right now, is we want to scale. We want to keep the balance that we've got, if that's, if they feel balanced, right? We don't want to lose it. And virtual is good for so many things. Like I literally do dozens of Zoom calls every week. And, we do this podcast, and I do client calls, coaching, even done speaking and live events because of, the virtual place we're in. At the same time, when it comes to training others, like I found a great struggle with training. So I've actually required a 90-day in-house, like, hey, you come here, you're 90 days here before we do anything virtual to make sure everything is good to go. You prove yourself here, fantastic. Then we can look at what, lifestyle looks, going forward. That's what we've implemented in our firm. What do you think has been working well? I always like to look at the strengths, strengths finders of individuals. What is working well with training virtually? And then we can talk about maybe some of the things that aren't working so well.
Yeah. I think the things that are working well is it's easy to have to schedule, using the calendars to schedule the time to actually do the training. I think when you're in office, you can sometimes just think it's going to happen, serendipitously, but it forces you to actually go take the time to do that, which is great.
Yeah. So maybe just the rigidity of like, okay, in order to see each other, we can't just be like, hey, Tom, how you doing? It's like, it's
exactly.
time to do, like, but you actually have to put it on the calendar and be purposeful about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's a really great point. What do you think have been some of the pitfalls? Some of the things like, this is just not working virtually. I really want to train you this and this, but it's really tough.
I don't think it's such a pitfall, but I think part of it's just like it forced me to create an idea of what are the main tasks or the functions I need this person to be able to do. And let's create a structure to make sure they're being taught. I think the main pitfall was it's not a pitfall, but it's just what happened with the newest hire. We were going through our spring meetings and there just wasn't a lot of time to be helping train them along the way. So I had them doing other things instead. And so now that that's over, it's just getting back to the cadence and reestablishing, hey, here are the things we're going to focus on. Here are the things that you're going to be doing. Let's establish a timeline for these things and just really get it reoriented and working.
Yeah. Great advice and good, listen, everybody gets overscheduled at some point, and, times and seasons. I just did a post on that, recently. This podcast will come out, further down the road from that. But what I've noticed is times and seasons can sometimes turn into a justification to make this lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. Like, whoops, let's make this a lifestyle. But I love that you keep saying, like, we come back to this. I'm going to learn from spring. Fall's going to be different. Get back to the cadence of what we were doing and have a timeline. I think that's crucial, because really balance is a rebalancing. It's continually rebalancing and checking priorities, checking timelines, checking goals. So I see that is something that you have internally, and I want to bring that up. Scott, that's fantastic. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, of course.
So when we look at the industry, you've rubbed shoulders with a lot of advisors, right? Starting out at Fisher Investments, what a home run there, to get started and have that experience. Yeah. And you also know a lot through your experience in the industry. You've met a lot of advisors. What do you think are some of the issues that other advisors are facing when it comes to balance, that they're not really grappling with very well?
Well, I think that I think it's something that we all struggle with. It's the first thing is to me, what it always comes back to is really knowing what you actually want. And not necessarily what other people think you want, but what you actually want. That's really the core of life planning at its base, right? Like for me, I really want to have time to be able to raise our kids. I want to be available and present with them, with my wife. I want to help our clients live great lives, right? These are and then for our team, I want to help our team grow and thrive themselves. Those are my core things, right? But those core things can be in tension with one another really easily. And so I think it's a matter of understanding the qualitative and quantitative metrics you're going to use to try to figure this out, and extend yourself grace that you may not know the answer right away, but you have to come back and check in on it and go like, how's it going? What tweaks do we want to make? Like I will not have a quarter or spring like I just did again. It was too much. Like no way, man.
Hello, I'm Scott, and I am a spring workaholic.
Right. I will happily choose to grow slower if I need to make sure that doesn't happen, because it took time away from our family. And when I say time away, I was like, I was there, but I wasn't there. I wasn't necessarily present. Right. My head was elsewhere. So I think that's what you need to start with, is what do you ultimately want? And then figure out how to go build it.
Yeah. Love that. Now, for those out there, like, how do you grow slower? What would you say? What's something like, obviously we can just stop taking meetings. We can stop doing things. But you're going to feel the imbalance on the business side too. You're going to feel like, oh, gee, like I wish I was doing more. How do you personally, not one, but how has that helped you? Like, what have you done to grow slower that allows you to have the quality while you're also bringing on the quantity?
Yeah. So we built in, it was going through last year. It just kind of ended. But we built in a sense, a wait list where we would only take on a maximum of 2 clients a month to make sure that we had time for them. Right. So that was a big part of it. A learning that just happened was I kept thinking like, oh, I can bring on a new client a month while going through spring meetings, while training a new person. Not doing that again. That was too much. So now what we'll do is during the spring and the fall meetings, we'll choose to not take on clients at that time, new clients at that time. We'll choose to wait until those spring and fall meetings for existing clients are over, and then we'll choose to bring on new clients.
Doctors have wait lists. I try to get my wife is trying to get my daughter into a pediatric dentist, and she's called around all, in the Valley and got some recommendations. She found someone she thought she loved. She's like, oh, I'm going to love this guy. He's going to be great. And then, sorry, we're not taking any clients right now. And I've had this conversation with other advisors before. And I think sometimes we turn away clients because maybe assets under management, or it's not the right fit. And that's fine. But I think there is some kind of, I'm just gonna read it. I think there's a little bit of ego, like, I have to turn away clients. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But what you guys are just like, hey, yeah, I've got a wait list where truly I don't want to overschedule. In a dentist's office, like it's tooth by tooth. Like you've got to do one thing at a time. And even though they can scale it out, they don't want to be growing too fast either. Right. How has this wait list worked out? Have people been coming off the wait list to be able to become clients? How has their experience been? I'm curious about this.
Yeah. So just to be clear, we would just say, okay, they say, I want to work with you. Great. Our next availability is this date, right? It's March of 2022, back in, December. And they're like, great, no problem. And then that's when they start working with us. It's really simple. Yeah.
So it's not rocket science, and they're okay with that. Like, they feel like that it's not a psychological trick. This isn't some like messing with their mind, but it is like, okay, now I know I'm going to really get the quality of help that I need. Is that some of the feedback you're getting? I'm putting words in your mouth here. I'm excited about this. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. The thing is, like, if there was a burning, urgent question that was timely, that needed to be answered, perhaps you could help them with that answer ahead of time, right? But outside of that, you want to make sure you can be there 100% to do quality work. And if they want to work with you and wait, that's lovely. We're happy to work with them. If they need help finding someone else, that's also great. We can help direct them to other places. But ultimately, that they seem to be just fine. Waiting, and then they get the service that they deserve.
Yeah, that's right. Good for you. There's a lot of advisors listening to this show that want to be successful. They want to have the balance. In fact, the three main reasons why they get into this industry I've discovered are freedom, finances, and flexibility. Mm-hmm. They want the freedom to do what they want. Exactly like you said, like, I want to do my own thing. They want to have there is no ceiling in this industry. Like, you can make whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But that flexibility can sometimes bite them because they're so flexible. They're too flexible, and they learn and grow, and they sometimes get stuck in this workaholic trap where now how do I get out? And obviously that's what I do for a living, is I help them get out. But I'm curious with you, like what would be some advice you would give other advisors? It doesn't have to be younger advisors. It could be, regardless of age. You might be in that workaholic trap because you're scaling too fast, or you're trying to build it and you're justifying, instead of a time and season, you're justifying several years of growing it. And then I'll take care of my family and other obligations and my health, et cetera. Mm-hmm. What's some advice you would give other advisors who are really struggling with that?
I think that one of the things that I've done that's been the most helpful was I created parameters for myself. So Mondays are largely preparing days to prepare for what's coming up this week. That's also when the podcast that you mentioned before, we do that every other week on Monday afternoons. Fridays are really a wrap up day, like make sure everything's handled for the end of the week, preparing for the next week. If we have nothing going on, that can be, we could leave early, which would be amazing. That's not the case right now, but when that exists, that'd be the case. And we meet with clients on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So we are very specific when we meet with clients, and that makes it so that we have the ability to do that. The other thing that we did was we're instituting the spring and the fall meetings to make it so that we have seasons of client meetings for the majority of clients. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not available when clients need us outside of that. Of course, we're there for them when they need us, but not all clients need us all the time, right? So then that creates space for us to work on things like operational efficiencies, which we need to improve upon, and eventually, spinning up a different form of marketing so that we can get a bit more of a focus on who we serve. The financial life planning you said for families and professionals is true. That's very broad. It's perhaps time to narrow that for us as a firm. So we're looking at that. That's kind of what I would think about. Like, create days for things and then allow yourself to do those things on those days.
Great advice, man. Absolutely. Talk about in the book, and I always plug the book on the podcast, achievingbalanceBook.com. But ideal calendars have been around. I mean, let's be honest, since the 90s, like the 80s, even maybe with Stephen Covey and others out there. But sure, industry specific, I wrote an article for FPA a long time ago about this is how you create an ideal calendar. But you touched on something that I've brought in as an addition in the book, and that is the boundaries. It's not just an ideal calendar for work, but you need to have these boundaries so you can have an ideal calendar for your life.
Yes.
And as someone who does life planning for other advisors, like you need to have this for your own life so you can be in congruence with what you're asking your clients to do. So I love what you're standing up for here, because I couldn't agree more wholeheartedly. I love how you do the seasons for client meetings, but you're still available. And obviously that might be a scaling, issue for a lot of advisors. Like, how do you do this? Well, you can have seasons. I also have days. Exactly what same thing I teach is like, hey, build an ideal calendar, but then have a day where you're podcasting or you're meeting with clients or you're doing operations type of work or marketing specifically. time blocking is good, but I also like being able to show up in my t-shirt today and say, today I'm podcasting, and I get in that mindset, I'm ready for it. And psychologically, it allows me to be in a better place. Yeah. Where if I'm showing up trying to do everything for everyone, it's a difficult type of scenario. So great advice on this, Scott. I appreciate you being on the show. If advisors want to reach out, rub shoulders with you, how do they reach you?
Well, you can on Twitter. I'm at Scott_R_Frank. The website for Stone Steps is stonestepsfinancial.com. Those are probably the two best places to get a hold of me.
Excellent. Thanks for being a guest on the show and for helping give back to the industry.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this work.
Thanks, Scott.